I will jump up on your table with my boots on and fight you over the fact that Byzantine should be shitting in gold toilets by now. What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV, and the channel revamp continues. Now, all of my new videos cannot be like the last one, which I did have a lot of fun with. It was 5 most annoying fan bases. I got a lot off my chest that had kind of been building up over the years, and a lot of people seem like they enjoyed it. You can tell that video did not go viral because there's not really many dislikes on it, but that's fine, man. We're rebuilding the channel anyway. So my new channel, or the new thing I'm doing, cannot just always involve me being a ranting, raving, old curmudgeonly asshole. That will get old quick. And I don't want to always do that, but I am going to do that a little bit more. But today, we're going to get a little bit more positive. We're going to talk about, in my opinion, the top 5 bands that should be more popular. A smarter man than me once said that a band's fame and fortune really relies on timing. Now, he wasn't talking about the drummer's ability to play with a metronome. He was talking about the band coming along with the material that matches what the culture is ready for. It's that age-old question. If Nirvana's Nevermind was released tomorrow, would it have the same cultural impact as it did in 91, 92, whenever it was? That record came out and it changed everything. It changed the music business. It changed the sound of recordings. It changed fashion. I actually don't think that we will ever have a record and a band that will be that culturally significant anymore, which is kind of a bummer. There's just too many bands. There's just too many subgenres. It's just kind of impossible. Keep that going in the comment section. Who do you think is someone after Nirvana that came on the scene and changed everything from top to bottom? There really hasn't been one. But anyway, these are my 5 bands that I just wish were more popular. Some of them are still around, some of them are gone. And if I think about it, I will put the list of the songs that I suggest for each band down in the description to make it a little easier for you to do your own research. And I think that at least one of these bands, if not all 5, will become one of your favorites as well. Before we get into it, if you enjoy this video and if you think I've earned it, please help me out. These are new videos and I am basically building from the ground up, except this time I'm doing it with 38,000 subs instead of none. But if you do like this, please give me a like, comment, and share. If you want to support the channel, I do have a PayPal link. I got a Patreon, got all that good stuff. I got a merch table if you want to go check that out. So let's get into my personal 5 favorite bands that I do not think are popular enough. Number 1, right off the bat, it's Quicksand. Holy shit, why is Quicksand not a better band? Now, if you're a Quicksand fan, you already know. But I think some fan bases, I mean, let's be honest, in the grand scheme of things, Quicksand is not a gigantic band. Can be in their bubble and not realize that the band that they love is not as big as they are to them. Quicksand is a New York post-hardcore band. That's what I always see about post-hardcore. I have no fucking idea about genres. You got to go talk to Finn at Punk Rock MBA about subgenres. I don't know anything. But they always say post-hardcore band, but its members, and I know Walter, the lead singer, was in Gorilla Biscuits, which is kind of a famous hardcore band. I've never really listened to that band, but I do know that Quicksand is just one of the most underappreciated bands that's ever existed. I think of them as like Helmet's artsier cousin. If you're a Helmet fan, you're going to love Quicksand, I promise you. And I almost for certain that they toured back in the day. Their drummer, Alan Cage, is just one of the most underappreciated drummers ever. He's so fucking good. He has this style that mimics the guitar riff, and it makes this really tight glue effect to their songs. He's a master at that. I like Alan Cage so much that I rip him off a lot in the metal band that I'm in. Now, Quicksand's not metal; they are heavy. Like I said, I think that if you're a Helmet fan, and I also know that those fan bases share a lot in common. I know that a lot of people who like Helmet probably like Quicksand, but if you haven't got to listen to Quicksand, they're so fucking good. My favorite record is Manic Compression. I think it came out in 94, 95. It's gotta be. It's probably in my top 25 all-time favorite records. I listened to it this week. Now, at one point, Quicksand did have a bit of traction in the business. They had a lot of exposure on 120 Minutes. If you're old enough to remember 120 Minutes on MTV, mazel, because that was where I found a lot of great bands, and they had a video on there called Dine Alone. And then I know that when Manic Compression came out, whatever videos, I think they had a video for Thorn on My Side was on there as well, and that's where I discovered them, and I have been listening to them since. My very first car was an 86 Ford Escort, and I had a Quicksand Manic Compression sticker on the side. So Quicksand, go out and listen to them. My favorite record, Manic Compression. And key tracks to start out with is Thorn in My Side, Backward, and Dine Alone. Now, what's great about this band, if you're just now discovering them, is they kind of broke up in 95, 96. I think they may have played a few shows in between, but then they came back in 2017 with another great record. They came out guns a-blazing and hadn't missed a step with a record called Interiors. That's a great record as well. First record was called Slip, but if I were to try to get you into them, I would say those three tracks will turn you on to them. But their newest record, yeah, 2017, that's a great record. I couldn't believe it. Like, I actually missed that it had come out, and then I discovered it, and they have not missed a step. And they have a new record coming out in 2021, and I'm very excited about it. Quicksand, go give them a look. Foxy Shazam, this is the band that actually inspired this video. I cannot get enough of this band, and the fact that they're not household names boggles my mind. They're from Cincinnati. They're like this strutting rock and roll god pageant of awesomeness. It's the only way I can describe it. Like, if you like Queen and if you like the rockier side of Bowie, you're going to fucking love Foxy Shazam. All of those people out there, all those YouTube commentators and music critics in general who complain about not having any more rock stars because everybody just says, like, Jack White's the last of our rock star. Bullshit. Eric Nally, this man is the epitome of all the positive aspects that we want out of our rock star. He's a virtuoso singer. He has charisma for days. He commands the room when he walks in. He's one of those cats, like, if you were to be at a party and he would walk in, everybody would be like, oh shit, that's somebody. He is so fucking talented, and the rest of the band is too. But if you want a band with a fucking cocksure frontman, Foxy Shazam is for you. Now, they have had some decent success. At one point, a couple years ago, in the NBA Finals, their song Unstoppable was like the theme music. It was like the bumper music when they would come in and out of breaks. So they've had a little bit of exposure. And they had a song called I Like It. And this song, I Like It, I love. You got to check it out. And the record that song is from is called Church of Rock and Roll. What is a better record name than the Church of Rock and Roll? And that record is phenomenal. I've listened to it so much. They're also the best rock band that has a trumpet player in it. So like a lot of like band nerds that I know like that band because, they play a band instrument, and it's cool to hear just kick ass, just like, it's just so swagger. Like, if you like just good fucking down dirty, well-executed rock and roll, Foxy Shazam is for you. What's great about discovering Foxy Shazam is after the Church of Rock and Roll hit, it seemed like they had some heat, and then they kind of went on a hiatus. And then right before the fucking stupid pandemic last year, Foxy Shazam was getting ready to come out. And of course, the whole world shut down, and then they shut down too. And that's been actually, unfortunately, the story of a lot of bands who are going to release things in the year of our Lord 2020. But Foxy Shazam recorded a new record, and it's called Burn, and it's fucking great too. The song Dreamer is on there, is amazing. So if you can get into Foxy Shazam, you can go see them, and I'm begging you to go see them live. They are quite simply one of the best live acts going right now. I'm going to drive many miles to see this band once they go back on tour. Foxy Shazam from Cincinnati. Standout tracks. I Like It, Holy Touch, Wannabe Angel. My favorite record, The Church of Rock and Roll. Eric Nally, thank you for being a rock and roll god. I really hope that you get to be as famous as you deserve, and the rest of the band as well. Foxy Shazam, get it. Next band on the list, from West Virginia, and do not say Western Virginia because they get fucking pissed off about that. Metal Pioneers, Byzantine. Again, you've heard me say before, I don't know anything about subgenres. I just hear shit and I like it. And if it's like real heavy, I call it metal. If it's like got a funk thing and there's rapping, I call it hip hop. I don't know about all these subgenres. But I have heard people say that they were like a tech metal band, whatever tech metal fucking means. I guess it just means they're really good at playing guitar, and they are. Byzantine is without a doubt the most underappreciated metal band in America. I think they are the best metal band that you've probably never heard. Now, they did have some success back in the day, and actually a little bit recently. They used to be on Relapse Records. Back when Lamb of God was on Relapse Records, they've actually toured with Lamb of God. They toured with Sacred Reich. They've toured with Kitty. They've toured with a bunch of bands that you already like. And more than likely, they were blowing them off the stage. Their original drummer, who's not with them right now, unfortunately, was this guy named Matt Wolf. Matt Wolf is a fucking great metal drummer. If you like Chris Adler's drumming, I think that you'll love Matt Wolf, because Matt had a lot of Chris Adler's playing in him, but he was also a guitar player first, so he is probably one of the most melodic metal drummers that I've ever heard. Like his use of splashes and specialty cymbals like that in these little bursts of melodies are just perfect. The new guy, the new drummer they have, his name's Matt too, and he's very capable. And so far, what I've seen, I think he's pretty damn good too. But man, Matt Wolf casts a big shadow, and the records that he's on, specifically The Fundamental Component, Oblivion Beckons, and what I think is not only an underappreciated record, but I think it's quite simply one of the best metal records ever recorded. Let me say that again. It's one of the best metal records ever recorded, and They Shall Take Up Serpents. It's a fucking masterpiece. I will jump up on your table with my boots on and fight you over the fact that Byzantine should be shitting in gold toilets by now. They are just great. Great. They're fucking great. And they're from fucking West Virginia. Who would have thought that one of the best metal bands that America has ever produced would be from West Virginia, not Western Virginia? Best thing about Byzantine, if you want to get into them, they have a new, I think they have a newer record out, and they're currently on their 20th anniversary tour. That's how long they've been around. So they might be coming to a town near you, and if you see the name Byzantine, go get a ticket. Also, they're now on Metal Blade, and their last single, which was called The Agonies, was actually #1 on Sirius XM Metal. So maybe it's time for Byzantine to take their rightful place at the top of the American metal scene. They fucking deserve it. OJ's a fucking genius. Go watch Byzantine. My favorite record, I've said it before, And They Shall Take Up Serpents. It's one of the greatest metal records that you'll ever fucking listen to. If you've listened to anything I've ever said on this fucking channel, listen to that. Standout tracks: Jeremiad, Hatfield, New Ways to Bear Witness. Go check out those 3 songs, and then just join the Byzantine fan club, because I guarantee you will. The Crash Kings. If Ben Folds wasn't so fucking awkward, had a baby with Led Zeppelin, with a little pinch of Jack White, you would have the Crash Kings. The Crash Kings are the heaviest, coolest, rockinest keyboard centric group ever. They're not around right now, I'm pretty sure, because they haven't had released a record since 2013. They're a keyboard trio. The keyboard player and the bass player are brothers, and the drummer, Tom Roskick, Tom, the drummer for Crash Kings, has a lot of Bonham in him. The thing about this band is, if I say a keyboard trio, you would think, Ben Folds, or, if you're a boomer, Billy Joel. But they're not. They're riff oriented, and it all comes down to the keyboard player who plays a clavinet with guitar pedals hooked up with it. It's got a whammy pedal or a whammy bar on the clavinet, and he writes guitar riffs, and they're fucking heavy as shit, and he's a phenomenal singer. He's a great singer. The Crash Kings had a minor hit with a song called Mountain Men, which is on their self-titled debut. And then when their second record came out, which was, I'm pretty sure, Kickstarter supported, they had a song on a Mountain Dew commercial. So they've made a little headway at that time into the mainstream. But like a lot of bands, they take their shot. They didn't get to where they need to be or where they wanted to be, and then they kind of fall away. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with them. I know they haven't released a record since 2013. But the Crash Kings are so good. It's not like any keyboard centric band that you've ever heard. It's bone crushing riffs. If you like bass distortion, you will love Crash Kings. You listen to that first record, the self-titled Crash Kings record, and you'll sing those songs the rest of the day. Standout tracks: Mountain Man, 1985, 6 Foot Tall. Check out those 3 songs, and then just be a Crash Kings fucking fan. And then we gotta somehow figure out to bring them back. I'm not on Twitter or any social media at all, but we need to do a hashtag Crash Kings come save us, because I think that if they would have got traction, I think they would have been as big as the White Stripes. I truly believe that. So they're so fucking good. Check out the self-titled record first, and then the second one is just as good, Crash Kings. And finally, unfortunately, the least known band on this list, if you're from Baltimore or if you attended any jam band festival in the early aughts, like late 90s, early aughts, you may have ran across Lake Trout. Now, don't let that jam band thing scare you off, because they're not a jam band. Although they did play a lot of those festivals, which back in the day, that was the coolest thing about jam band festivals, is you would see the jam bands that were the reason that people were there. But then you would see these eclectic artists during the day, and that's where I fucking saw them for the first time. I saw them at an All Good, I think All Good 99, 98, something like that. And Lake Trout blew my mind. They started out as probably the first band that incorporated drum and bass into their sound. The drummer, Mike Lowry, was doing breakbeat jungle D&B, drum and bass licks and beats on the drum set way before JoJo Mayer was. Decades before JoJo Mayer was, and was a pioneer in that scene. Stanton Moore from Galactic even said in a Modern Drummer magazine that Mike Lowry was a big influence on the evolution of his playing and adding in some of those electronic style beats into his playing. Now, the best part about Lake Trout is they were this ever-evolving amoeba of a thing, and they started out, and that's the reason why they were in the kind of jam band scene, is because they were kind of very spacey, kind of psychedelic, with they have a flute player. They're the best band with a flute, bar none. Jethro Tull, I hear you. Their flute player, phenomenal. They started out with kind of a drum and bass kind of a feel, and then they every record they moved along, and then they ended up in this place right before, unfortunately, they disbanded, where they kind of turned into American Radiohead. Imagine if Tom York wasn't so whiny, and that's not a rip on Tom York, because I'm a huge Radiohead fan, but let's be honest. If Radiohead were American, it's the best way, that's the only way I can describe it. If Lake Trout turned into, on the last two records, Another One Lost and Not Them You were the name of those, turned into the American Radiohead. If you like Radiohead, and if you wish Radiohead like drank protein shakes, or if you like the Flaming Lips, you're going to love Lake Trout. Please, please. They're on Spotify. Again, they're not that big of a band. Actually, the biggest thing that they were probably known for was in the early aughts, there was an MTV executive that was a big fan of theirs and the way that he helped them out. I know this story because I actually played a bunch of shows with Lake Trout in Baltimore and, where I'm from. And they told me that there was an executive that was a big fan of theirs, and a way for him to kind of help them out was he used a lot of their music as background music on The Real World. So they were, it was like his way of like getting them a paycheck. There was also a story of them getting ripped off by a Baltimore Raven football player, which I don't want to get into right now. But Lake Trout, quite simply, is the most forgotten about great fucking band. They've got 4 releases. The last one was just called Live. I can't remember the name of the first one, but there's Not Them You and Another One Lost. I'm getting them wrong because it's so long ago. They broke up in 2007, and they'll every once in a while, if you're a Baltimore person, you know Lake Trout. Another thing about Lake Trout that I love is they were marketing geniuses. First of all, Baltimore is probably one of my favorite East Coast cities. I'll go to Baltimore before Philadelphia and New York any fucking day. Blah. Baltimore, I love that place. Baltimore's kind of official like sandwich is a Lake Trout sandwich. It's just a fried whiting fish. And if you go to Baltimore, you get Lake Trout sandwich and a half and half. You're welcome. But they called their band Lake Trout because when you go to Baltimore, everywhere you see, there's advertisements for each shop or restaurant's Lake Trout sandwich. So it was a genius piece of marketing. Now, unfortunately, that marketing did not get them to the level of popularity that I think they deserve. They're so fucking good. Standout tracks are Sounds From Below, Pill, and Bliss. That song Bliss, which is track 6 on Them Not You, I think, has one of my all-time favorite drum fills. Go listen to Bliss and see if you can figure out what my favorite drum fill is. Mike Lowry was one of my favorite drummers. Now, there is a bit of a good ending to this band because, well, for some of them anyway, the rhythm section, the bass player, drummer, and I'm pretty sure the keyboard player went on to play with Uncle, like UNKLE, the British EDM band. So they did get to go farther in their career, but it breaks my heart that Lake Trout did not get to the level of success that I feel they deserve. I think that they're just as important musically as Radiohead, and I think that you will agree with me too. Go, please. I'm begging you here. On the other 4, give or take, but this one, go listen to Lake Trout. They're so fucking good. Even though they're not around anymore, they still left us 4 phenomenal fucking records. Go enjoy it. So there you go. Top 5 bands that I think should be more popular, or someone else could say Steve's simping video. And I don't care to simp for any of these guys. I would sell. I've got 3 dogs. I'd like to think I'd give one of them away to make sure all 5 are that popular. I probably wouldn't, but if it would be, it'd be Sydney. She's kind of a pain in the ass. Please go check these 5 bands out. If you think I have any kind of taste at all, you are obligated to go check out Foxy Shazam, Byzantine, Crash Kings, Lake Trout, and Quicksand. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. Go on, get